Title: The Web of Deceit. Amina stood at the edge of the bustling Nairobi market, her hands calloused from years of carrying heavy baskets of vegetables. At 22, she had already shouldered more responsibility than most people twice her age. Her father had passed away when she was just a child, leaving her mother to raise 5 children on her own. Amina, the eldest, had dropped out of school to help her mother sell produce at the market. Every day was a struggle, but Amina clung to the hope that one day her life would change for the better. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the market began to empty, a well-dressed man approached Amina's stall. He introduced himself as Mr. Kiprono, a recruiter for an agency that helped young Kenyans find employment abroad. His polished shoes and crisp suit stood in stark contrast to the dusty market ground, and his confident demeanor immediately caught Amina's attention. "I see potential in you," Mr. Kiprono said, his voice smooth and reassuring. "I can offer you a job in Dubai as a housekeeper for a wealthy family. The salary is $1,500 a month, enough to change your life and your family's." Amina's heart raced. $1,500 was more money than she had ever imagined earning. She could finally build a proper house for her family, send her siblings to school, and lift them out of poverty. But something about the offer felt too good to be true. "How do I know this is real?" she asked cautiously. Mr. Kiprono smiled and handed her a glossy brochure filled with testimonials from other young Kenyans who had supposedly found success through his agency. He assured her that the agency would cover all her travel expenses, including her passport, visa, and flight ticket. She would only need to repay the cost once she started working. Desperation clouded Amina's judgment. She thought of her mother's tired eyes and her siblings' tattered clothes. This was her chance to change everything. After a few days of deliberation, she agreed to take the job. The day of her departure arrived. Mr. Kiprono met her at the airport with a small suitcase. "This has some essentials for your journey," he said, handing it to her. "Everything has been taken care of. Just follow the instructions, and you'll be in Dubai before you know it." Amina hugged her mother tightly, promising to send money as soon as she could. As she boarded the plane, she felt a mix of excitement and unease. The flight attendants announced the destination as Hanoi, Vietnam, not Dubai. Confused, Amina approached a flight attendant. "Excuse me, is this flight going to Dubai?" she asked. The attendant shook her head. "No, this flight is direct to Hanoi. Didn't you check your ticket?" Amina's stomach churned. She pulled out her ticket and saw for the first time that the destination was indeed Vietnam. Panic set in, but she told herself it must be a layover or a mistake. She decided to stay calm and figure things out when she landed. When the plane touched down in Hanoi, Amina was overwhelmed by the unfamiliar sights and sounds. The airport was a maze of signs in a language she couldn't understand. As she approached customs, an officer asked her to open her suitcase for inspection. Amina complied, unaware of the nightmare that was about to unfold. The officer's expression turned grim as he pulled out several packets of white powder hidden in the lining of the suitcase. Amina's heart stopped. She had no idea how the drugs got there. She tried to explain, but the language barrier made it impossible. The officers handcuffed her and led her away, ignoring her frantic protests. Amina was thrown into a cold, dimly lit cell. She was charged with drug trafficking, a crime punishable by death in Vietnam. The trial was a blur. The prosecution presented the drugs as evidence, and Amina's lack of understanding of the legal system left her defenseless. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Life in the Vietnamese prison was a living nightmare. The food was barely edible, the conditions were unsanitary, and the other inmates were hostile. Amina struggled to hold on to hope. She learned a few words of Vietnamese and made a friend named Lynn, a local woman who had been imprisoned for a crime she didn't commit. Lynn taught Amina how to navigate the prison's harsh environment and encouraged her to stay strong. One day, a new inmate arrived. Her name was Fatma, and she was from Tanzania. Like Amina, Fatima had been lured by a fake job offer and found herself trapped in a foreign country with a bag full of drugs she didn't know about. The two women bonded over their shared experiences and vowed to fight for justice. And with the help of a sympathetic lawyer who learned of their cases, Amina and Fatima were able to bring attention to the illegal activities of the trafficking ring. International organizations got involved, and after a long legal battle, The truth finally came to light. The trafficking ring,